Now to our continuing investigative series on sexual assault and harassment in the military. Earlier this week, NewsNation told you about the investigation into Asia Graham, the Fort Bliss soldier who reported being sexually assaulted on base and was later found dead in her barracks. Today, the commander there announced Operation Ironclad. It's a program to combat sexual assault at the military base. NewsNation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh joins us with what one member of the House Armed Services Committee is saying on the matter tonight. Rich.
Thank you, Marnie. Congresswoman Jackie Speier has been laser focused on this issue for the greater part of a decade. And last year, in response to Vanessa Guillen's killing and the leadership issues at Fort Hood, she introduced the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act. Now, tonight, she has some strong words for the leadership at Fort Bliss in response to how she says they have mishandled Asia Graham's case.
Congresswoman, thank you for doing this. We appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
Sexual assault and harassment in the military has been a priority, or said priority of the military, for over a decade, and yet we've seen all the numbers, reporting, retaliation, everything has been on the increase. Why do you think that is?
It is because the military does not walk the walk. It's because they want to say the right things and retain the status quo. And the status quo is killing men and women. It's scarring men and women who want nothing more than to serve their country. They signed up for the military because of a greater calling, thinking that someday they would be in a position defending the country with the enemy outside the wire. Except the enemy turns out to be sitting right next to them.
Or right across the hall. In Asia Graham's case, she wrote that she was afraid to see her alleged perpetrator every day.
You've spoken with Asia Graham's mother, Nicole. What, in your estimation, happened in this case?
In this case, the young woman was raped. Her command did not do what they should be required to do, which is provide her all the services she needs, take the perpetrator and move the perpetrator. I mean, he remained in the same barracks with her. You know, it shows the callousness of a system that basically chooses not to believe the victim.
And yet she did everything right.
And she did everything right.
It's an issue Speier knows well.
The chief of staff held my face, kissed me, and stuck his tongue in my mouth.
In 2017, she came out with her own Me Too story.
So I know what it's like to keep these things hidden deep down inside.
And she has been fighting to change how the military handles sexual assault and harassment for over a decade.
It is so disheartening because we have really put a spotlight on this issue. We've had hearings in the Capitol. We've had the big brass come up and talk about it. Secretary Panetta called it an epidemic. Secretary Hagel says that he wants to address it, and yet nothing changes.
You've been obviously working on this a long time. What, if you boil it down, is the core problem?
The core problem is these cases are not handled like crimes. They're handled as if it has something to do with discipline within the military and therefore should be subject to the chain of command, except that they're crimes. They have now grown to be murders in many cases, murder-suicides. And the fact that the military is unwilling to have these cases taken out of the chain of command, retained in the military, but have professionals, professional prosecutors, professional investigators make the determination as to whether or not to move forward with the case. That's what they are afraid of. I can't tell you the number of cases, egregious cases, that are swept under the proverbial rug. Because as it turns out, you have 20,000 cases a year of sexual assault in the military, and only about 6,000 to 7,000 of them are reported for fear of retaliation. And of that number, maybe 500 or 600 go to a court martial, and then maybe 100 or 200 are convicted. So what's the message that's being sent to the troops? The message is, don't report it, don't rock the boat, your career will be damaged if you do.
In 2011, an Air Force investigation revealed widespread abuse of female soldiers in training at Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas.
I was in Lackland Air Force Base when we found out that there were 35 military training instructors who had sexually abused trainees. These are 17, 18, 19-year-olds. One of the victims said to me, when your MTI tells you to meet him in the storage closet, there's not a question mark at the end of that sentence. Over 60 trainees were sexually assaulted. Not one of them came forward. And the only way we found out about it was because 2 other military training instructors who had been observing this finally said enough and reported it up the chain. And even then, command did not do anything. Oh, he's a great MTI. Couldn't possibly be true.
Justice for Vanessa! She deserves to be heard. Her name is supposed to be heard.
We've spent over $1 billion trying to fix this, throwing programs out there. And then the Vanessa Guillen horrific murder elevated this issue in a way that it hadn't been before. Then the Fort Hood investigation that was done, that was independent, exposed the fact that it's rotten. The whole system is rotten. This is the military's Me Too moment. Before I speak about the conference agreement, I feel like I must speak about the Fort Hood Independent Review, which was ordered after Specialist Vanessa Guillen's murder.
Last fall, you introduced the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act. What was your goal in creating that?
Well, my goal is to get it out of the chain of command, to make sure that sexual harassment and sexual assault are taken seriously within the military. It's a damning expose of a system at Fort Hood that does a shameful disservice to the sacrifices of our service members and their families. That there is not retaliation, and that there is an opportunity for all of these victims to be served by victims' counsel, to be compensated, and to make sure that those who are in authority are held accountable as well. You know, there's Harvey Weinsteins in the military. Did Harvey Weinstein or Matt Lauer receive months or years of due process before being terminated? When do we simply believe the victims?
Given that there's a renewed focus on this right now, are you hopeful that the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act will get passed?
I am hopeful. I am, unfortunately and painfully, there have been more Vanessa Guillens that have been reported very recently. And I think it's gained enough gravitas that the military appreciates that it can't just keep looking the other way.
Earlier this month, she and Senator Gillibrand wrote a letter to President Biden urging him to establish a presidential commission on the issue.
But meanwhile, Secretary of Defense Austin has stood up a 90-day commission that he is going to look at this issue as well.
And if confirmed, I will fight hard to stamp out sexual assault. And to
all we have to do is look at Fort Hood to realize what happens when you have the military look at a problem, where the Inspector General actually went to Fort Hood and said everything's fine. And then you had this independent commission, 5 members who had served in the military before, but who went down and interviewed thousands of service members, who looked at all of the documentation and came back with a scathing report and 70 recommendations for change.
After that report, the Army fired or suspended 14 Fort Hood officials.
We now have a president who is supportive of this and a Secretary of Defense who's come out quickly and said this is a focus of his. Do you think that we're going to see change?
We will see change. I'm very confident about that. Will it go as far as I want? I certainly hope so.
Now, after speaking with officials at the Pentagon earlier this week and Congresswoman Speier, there's no question that there is a momentum right now. But as she just wondered aloud, will the changes go as far as she wants and others want? That remains to be seen. Back to you, Marnie.
Rich, thank you.